everybody, this is Savant Young of VJMU. I'm here with my behind the camera co-host, Sir Marlon. Today we had Abel Ibarra out here at FR Performance in Ontario, California. And we here to film another episode of Garage Vibe. Abel, thanks for coming out and talking to your boy. This is a big day. You know, we've been looking forward to coming out here, meeting you, man, and just to cover this car, man. Like, as everybody gonna find out, this car was featured on the fastest car on Netflix and whatnot. There's a whole lot of story behind the car, but before we get into that, Abel, for the people that don't, we know you because we from LA and we OGs in LA, so we know who you are and what you come from and what you've done. But for the people that don't know, tell them a little about who Abel Ibarra is, what has Abel Ibarra done, and just for the world to know.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out, and first and foremost, I really want to let everybody know from the bottom of my heart, I'm real grateful with Servant. When the car got crashed, he put a little GoFund together for me, and if it wouldn't have been for that, the car wouldn't have got done. So I'm real thankful for him for looking out, helping me out, and everyone across the world, in the whole entire world. Literally, we had donations from every part of the world donating money so that the car could get done.
And that is what the VJM union means. You know, we're a union of people that feel we're a collective group. You know, we all put our heart and soul and money and time and finances into these cars, and to see anything happen to them, man, we took that personal. We felt like, man, what can we do to help him get this car back going, man? So for those who don't know out there, you know, how'd you get started? What got you into racing? Did you start out in Rotaries first? Did you do any V8s before? For any of the Rotary guys that may be hating on the piston cars out there, because you know there's a few of them out there that's you talking that shit. But anyway, I mean, how'd you get started? Like, how'd you get into the racing for you to become who you are in this?
I'll make it short, but I'll give you a little bit of the background. I'm from I grew up in South Central LA.
Okay, my hood.
Grew up in South Central LA. Went to Catholic school all my life. Went to Verbum Day in Watts, and I was a real good student. So for my 14th, 15th birthday, my mom and uncle got together, and they bought me a Capri. Okay. So I bought a Mercury Capri, you know, and I was always, you know, because of TV, my uncles had Trans Ams, I always wanted to have a fast car. So we put a little cam in the Capri, put a 4-barrel carburetor, exhaust and stuff, and I would drive it to high school when I would act good. Sometimes I would act bad and my mom would take the keys away. But on one occasion, you know, this was my first experience with Mazdas. I pulled out the driveway from school after school to Central Avenue, and I heard this weird little looking car, white car, like, and I'm like, oh shit, all right, he's at the light, let's take off. And we took off, and man, you're not gonna believe it, Savant. Later I found out it was a Mazda RX2, a small pumper. He beat my ass for 3 days straight. And I was like, finally on the third day, I'm like, man, what is that? He said, oh, it's a rotary motor. I said, can I see it? And he opened it up. And then I looked in there, I'm like, man, this looks like a long transmission, because I didn't know what was going on there. And that was my first experience with Mazda. Then, you know, I started looking out for Mazda, and later on, I hooked up with a bunch of guys over there by Jefferson High School. Okay. They had Mazdas, you know, turned out to be a bunch of good friends. And we would roll together, go to the street races. So I started going at an early age to the street races. Eventually, I had some really good sounds in the Capri. I started to go to USC. I went to USC, and one of the guys over there by Jefferson said, you know what, man, I have a Mazda. I'll trade you the Capri sounds for my Mazda. And it was running everything. I was like, oh man, that's the deal of a lifetime. Yeah. So I traded the sounds from the Capri for the Mazda. For the sounds, but I had hell of a radio in there. It was all Alpine stuff, Alpha Sonic, Sherwood, for those who know, Rockford Fosgate speakers. Oh, it was hitting. Yes. So I traded the sounds, and I got the Mazda, and then I started driving the Mazda, man, and everybody was beating me. I found out later, it had a 12A 79 port, the weakest of the weakest. And I'm like, man, I can't believe I got a Mazda and I'm still getting my ass kicked. So I was like, man, I got to come up with something. So I started saving up money, and I finally had enough, and I heard of this place called AEM in Gardena. So I went to Gardena, and I was like, man, I want the baddest carburetor. I know the downdrafts were good, but do you have anything that works better than a downdraft? He was like, yeah, we have these side drafts. I have these 55 side drafts choked down to a 48. I'll sell you one of these, and these will make the most power. And he goes, and you know what, it would really go good would be on like the new 13B 6 ports. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went back home. I already had the carburetor. I started letting all my friends know. And there was this one guy that lived close to Huntington Park named Bird. He called me one day and said, man, I got this 84, 85 GSL SC motor. It's fresh. It's like new. 13B. I said, oh, how much you want for it? I think he sold it to me for like $250 back then. Believe it or not, that's what the price was. Man, I got that motor, Savant. Me and my brother, like for 2 days, took the 12A out, put the 13B, and we did whatever it took to get it running, right? Hey, finally got it running. Yep. I drove the car with just the header from there to East LA, where everybody used to go to the muffler shop in Atlantic. They used to do the bomb exhaust, Atlantic muffler. Drove to Atlantic muffler with uncorked like that. Got my dual exhaust. Man, and on the way home, I stepped on it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. I was like, oh man, this is a different life. So man, that whole week, I'm not gonna lie to you, I went to Fremont High School, to Jefferson. Everybody who had kicked my ass, I went looking for them. I went looking for them, and I beat every single one of them. Next thing you know, I had the fastest little Mazda around there. Right. You know, except for like the guys at the street races, but within our crew and all the street guys, I had the fastest little Mazda. And then that RX2 turned out to be the one that later I put a street port in there with the supercharger, and I would go to Terminal Island.
When did you feel that transition? Like, when did you feel that transition from garage, you know, home garage type guy to someone that, because you've been sponsored,
the transition came, like, I went from being real broke, barely being able to afford a carburetor, us living in LA, to then we moved out to Fontana in 1990, and then I moved out of the house about almost close to late 91, and then I got situated in about 92 where I started living on my own, work and everything. And right about the end of 92, early 93, I started, you know, making a little bit of money, and I said, okay, I'm gonna fix my RX2. So that's when I went with the street port and the supercharger, and I started going to Terminal Island, and the car ran a high 10 at Terminal Island. And I said, you know what, I want something faster now. And I had seen in magazines these full chassis cars, and I had seen them at Terminal Island. So an opportunity came up where one of, like, not our close friends, but a guy that we knew that roamed around with El Sereno, East LA guys with Mazdas, he had a car at, I believe, Nick, in Glendale, Nick's race cars or something like that. Okay. That was an R100 that he had already started making like a back half street rod. So I got a hold of him, Ben, and I said, man, when can I see the car? I'm kind of interested in it. And Ben said whenever, so I met him at Nick's, I looked at the car, I bought the car from him, I loved it. I bought the car from him. The plan initially was to put this RX2 supercharged engine in it and go street racing with it. And we were gonna kill people, because we're like, man, if my RX2 is going that fast, imagine with a big tire, way lighter, how fast we're gonna go. And one day I'm looking at Turbo Magazine, and I see not Adam, but I forget the guy's name. He had a black FD. And I heard he went a low 10. I said, a low 10 with AC, and he drove it to the track? Wait a minute, what's up with these turbos? See, I already knew about turbo because I had just bought my Grand National not too long ago. I had my Grand National for maybe about a year. So I knew the potential of turbos, but I said, how can you go that fast with that? So I on the same magazine, I heard there was gonna be an import race at Pomona. So I decided, okay, let me go check it out. Now we're talking about, this is 94, 95. So I went to Pomona, and lo and behold, guess who was there? Adam. So I go and I'm checking Adam's car out. I'm like, okay, you know, full street car, the AC, this and that. And man, he was whipping off low 10s like nothing. I'm like, wow, if this dude is lipping no 10s like nothing, that combination, I for sure can go 9s. That's what I said. Oh, I'm gonna kill everybody. So I go back to John, because John was kind of helping me with the project and the little parts here and there. And I told John, I said, John, I went to the track, I seen these. What's the best fuel injection that we can get out there, and what can we do? I want to make the biggest power. And that's when he told me, oh, if you're serious and you want to make power, go with Motec. And that's where it kind of all took off. So I start building the R100. AM start getting involved. AM helped me a lot. John Calcialdi, when he was the full owner, and it was the little dyno part shop instead of being the big manufacturing company like it is now. So we went with Motec. Jeff at Rotary Power built me the engine. And, you know, we put it into the car, and then we start dyno and everything was real good. And then by that time, one of the guys that had sold me like the transmission, the clutch, and certain parts for the car his name was Sammy Day from Puerto Rico. He had told me they were gonna put out an event in Bakersfield, where they were going to bring Puerto Rican cars out here. And the ECU had a setting in there we hadn't messed with, and it was limiting to like 7,000 that we couldn't figure out at the time. So that day, I think my very first pass, I went a 1193 in the R100, and then on the second pass, I went a 1090. So we leave the track and we stop at In-N-Out in Bakersfield. And we're eating, and I see this guy come up to me, and he's like, hey, you're the one driving that R100 today? I'm like, yeah. Well, now I know who it is. It was Mike Ferreira from Turbo Magazine. He was one of the editors. He said, hey, we want to shoot the car. We really like it. I think it's going to do things. I said, well, look, Mike. I said, we had problems with it today, but as soon as we get it figured out, I'm renting Palmdale. Right. I said, you're more than welcome to come. We get the car. We call Motec Monday morning. They tell us, oh, yeah, this is what it is. John went in with the settings. Boom, no more rev limiter. I'm like, cool. So I call Palmdale, rent a date. And I call Mike and I tell him, hey, we're gonna be out there Wednesday. So I get the car ready, go out there, do my burnout, make the first pass. First pass, boom, I think I ran like a 930. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm short shifting, not really knowing what the hell I'm doing or anything. Right. Everybody's like jumping up and down. Sean's like, wow, dude. I go out and make another pass, and I think the second pass, if I'm not mistaken, I'd ran like an 880, 890. We're like, wow, I think I can do better. And granted, we haven't even turned up the boost or anything. I come back again, and I think I end up running like a 860, right? So by the time I got home, and I guess Sean called Mike, and Mike spread the word, I'm not sure, I think that might have been like the world record. It was definitely the fastest import car in America at the time, and like a hair away from the world record period of any import, let alone a Mazda. And man, I had it, people start calling me from everywhere, this and that. Me and John were getting excited, blah, blah, blah. We get the car, turn up the boost a little bit more, go back out to the track like 2 or 3 weeks later, and that's when the R100, we hit the world record, and from there, you know, you guys know the story.
Yeah, so today, you know, we came out here to film this RX2 right here in particular. This RX2 is, I found out he's owned since the 90s.
Late 90s, yeah, 99, 2000. I don't exactly remember, but somewhere around there.
So for all you people out there that are looking for these, in 1990 or 90s, what did you pay for a car like this?
So I paid $3,500, and it's funny how it happened. So me and a good friend of mine, a guy named Robert Pelham, we're driving down Mission here in Ontario locally, not too far away from here, okay. And we spot an old lady driving this.
Oh wow, somebody was actually driving.
So we actually follow her and pull into her, you know, she pulls into her house, and we're like, hey, do you want to sell the car? I'm like all excited. She's like, no, not right now, but you know, just keep on checking with me. So, you know, time goes by, I don't think nothing about it or nothing. Robert calls me. He goes, hey, you know that Mazda? I said, yeah. He goes, I got it from that lady. I'm like, no, you didn't. No. I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. You didn't do it. I said, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. I'm like, come on, man. And because I remembered how clean it was. Yeah. So I'm like calling Pelham every week, every 2. So I go to Pelham's house, and I'm like almost pleading with him. Yeah. You know, the lady, she overheated and it messed up the motor, so that's why she decided to sell it. She wasn't gonna fix it. So I'm pleading to him, and I'm like, Pelham, will you please sell me the car? And it's so funny because his little kids came up to him. They knew I had Mazdas and racing and stuff, and they're like, no, Abel, this is our Mazda. Oh God, this is our Mazda. We're gonna fix it up. So Pelham goes, hey, I got a friend that's gonna help me rebuild the motor, this and that. I'm like, okay. It is what it is. You want a Mazda, fuck it. Yeah. So you know, I don't pay attention to it. I'm always thinking about the car. And then Pelham calls me like a month and a half later. I'm like, what's up, Robert? He's like, dude, do you want the car? I said, what do you mean, do you want the car? He goes, yeah, dude, if you want the car, I'll sell it, but I need the $3,500 today. I said, what? He said, I need the $3,500 today. I kid you not. He hadn't finished saying that when I was already out the door. I got to his house like in 15 minutes, handed him the money, and then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, because he had it under the tree. Branches had fell on it, it had tree sap, but I'm like, you know what, screw it. 35. Hey, I'm taking it. Jeez. So I brought it to the shop, cleaned it up, man, and I was a happy camper.
I mean, $3,500, you've had it since the 90s, it's been in this kind of condition. Tell us about the car as it sits right now, and then we'll get into, you know, we'll get into some.
As it sits right now, as it sits right now,
what are we looking at right now?
As it sits right now, it's not original anymore. It used to be original paint.
Original to be.
Yeah, it's been repainted, but all the interior, which I like to keep all my cars like that, even like my Grand National or whatever. Yes. I try to keep the interiors as much as stock looking as possible. It's the original interior, hasn't been touched. And when we made all the modifications, I made sure that, you know, the fabricators at the shop and whoever worked on it, I don't want to cut anything on the car. Like that, if ever I wanted to, something happened and they wanted to take it apart or sell it or restore it back to original, it can go back to original.
I'm looking at this California Highway Patrol vehicle inspection sticker from '74. I think this is the coolest shit on the car damn near.
Hey, why you think it's still there? I tell the people that with the car wash, when the detailer comes, hey, don't mess with that sticker. Leave that sticker alone.
This shit right here is swag all day. I mean, people look at it right now, they don't see how aggressive this car really is. But I mean, what we got under the hood? Can you give us a little walkthrough of what you got under the hood, best you can?
So basically, you're gonna laugh when I tell you the story about this engine. So it's a 13B Cosmo, right? This motor is, as far as R&D and sophisticated, it is the most sophisticated as far as in the porting and with the best technology that I have and learned. This was the engine that was gonna go into my RX-7 race car before I put the 3-rotor in it. Because before I had been running street ports. Right. So this was the next generation that was gonna make the more power to go into the race car. So it's a Cosmo engine, full bridge with the semi-PP.
Semi-PP
full bridge, yes.
Nice, very nice, man. I mean, if you look down at the exhaust here, we got titanium downpipe. I mean, it's no games. No games are played on this car. The inside is immaculate. I mean, this is, for you guys out here, I mean, look at the vinyl top. I mean, I know a lot of you guys out here, you know, are not up on top of the vinyl top game, but this right here, man, is luxury. This car was featured on The Fastest Car on Netflix. And somebody hit this shit, man, and I personally wanted to whoop that dude's ass for you, bro. Shout out to Abel, because this dude kept his composure like no one else. I'm sure people expected him to get out of pocket and the riffraff like some of the other guys that I've seen on the show. But way to be a fucking true professional, man. And the car got hit, and you know, we took offense to it, so much so that we at VJMU started a GoFundMe to fund part of fixing this car. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We didn't know what it was gonna cover, you know what I mean? But we knew how immaculate this car was, and we said, this is the very least we can do, being that you support us, you know what I mean? You let us host meets here at your shop. You let us come do some dyno stuff. So we felt it was just a small gesture to get this car back going. So from us two at VJMU, myself, Marlon, Damien, Jaime, we thank everybody that supported that GoFundMe, man. We raised pretty good money to get the car back up, and it looked as though we ready to line this motherfucker back up again, buddy. So any of y'all out there need that smoke? It's right here, buddy.
It does have
every one of our guests that we put on Garage Vibes, it becomes official when you get the VJMU plaque. And this is recognized worldwide, man. So I'm gonna get this to Abel. He gonna put it on the car.
Even though it was already official.
It was already, it was already official.
Now everyone's gonna know.
For YouTube, it's real official.
Yeah, real official.
Don't everybody have one of these? So got a nice red one since Abel grew up in the hood and shit.
I actually did grow up in Swan Hood.
I know you did. You got the red one ready. Look at it. Hey, there it is. Fresh shit only, baby. I love it.